Ladies and gentlemen, welcome along to our latest product focus piece. This time, as you might be able to tell, we are checking out Case IH's latest generation Optum series tractors. So Ed, before we kind of get into the nitty gritty of the AFS Connect, which obviously, as we can see, brings with it a whole new layout, which is why we're kicking off in the cab, because that's where most of the visual differences lie between the old Optum and this new generation Optum. Just give us a quick overview of the Optum range now, number of models, horsepower levels.
So we've got three models. We've got the 250, the 270 and the 300, and the number is indicating the rated horsepower. So the 300 rated horsepower of 300 with a max power of 315.
So what you see on your bonnet is pretty much what you get.
There's no lies with us.
So the engine in this will still be 6.7 litre?
It's a 6.7 NEF engine, similar as what we use on the Puma, but a variable geometry turbo. And a different sump, allowing us to get more power out of the machine. Also, with that sump, it allows us to change the front suspension. So the front suspension is hanging from the rear of the engine, and it gives us a little bit more travel and a smoother ride.
So that sort of saddle style with
saddle
suspension.
Style, yeah.
Got you. And then transmission-wise, obviously, it's all CVT on the Optums.
Yeah, so a 4x2 CVT transmission. We've got no control over what range we're in. The tractor automatically changes range as it sees fit, as it needs more power to optimise the engine horsepower available to us in the field.
And in terms of operation of the CVT, it's still pretty much the same as before, proportional lever control on there?
100%. We were happy with how we were controlling the CVX with the proportional lever. The further you push it forward, the faster you're going to go. Yeah. We're limited by the speed on the A-pillar dash here, but we can change that using the scroll wheel here, and we have three theoretical target speeds that we can go between.
So that's kind of the main physicalities of it. So I mean, let's get stuck into this, the new sort of AFS Connect Optum really. I mean, cab-wise, structure, is that changed?
So the cab is 7.5% bigger. So you'll see that we're slightly wider. There's more room behind the seat, allowing us to sit further back, giving us more room in front.
Yeah.
And I think you'll agree, it's just a lighter environment, better visibility from the increased glass area. So the whole front console has been redesigned. The air vents, nice bits of leather on the side, giving it a whole new modern look. And this lighter dash gives it a lighter appearance within here. And you notice up here, the A-pillar itself, we used to have a fairly large A-pillar. We've now just gone to the small A-pillar display. We can't do anything with this display, it's just displaying key information. Yeah. So no configurability, but obviously when we get back here, there's a lot of configurability that we can control as the operator wants to.
So AFS Connect then, obviously it kicked off with the Magnums, then it was introduced on the quad tracks and the Steigers, now on Optum. So what does AFS Connect bring to the party then?
So the AFS Connect obviously brings us this new armrest. So it gives us a new level of configurability, but also connectivity. So farmers want to know what's going on in the field. They can monitor from phones, they can monitor on the desktop, they can make informed decisions from the information the tractor is sending back to the farm office. If we start to look at configurability, we've got buttons from 1 to 4 down here, we've got 5 to 8, and we've got these buttons here, and there's a multitude of different functions we can put on there, ranging from controlling remote valves, controlling diff locks, four-wheel drives, anything you can think of on the tractor we can control on these buttons. So if we look at the configurable control screens, what you can see is I've got my levers here, And at the moment, as you'd expect, we're in the default position where number A, or letter A, sorry, is controlling remote valve 1. I can change any of these. So if we plumb everything up wrongly, we can adapt it. So for example, I want this lever here, this paddle here, to control my front remote valve number 1. And you'll notice the colour changes to correspond with the caps on the hydraulics on the rear. So quite a nice feature how these lights are all changing to relate to where we've plumbed everything in. If I come into this drop down box here, we've got the joystick. So the joystick is controlling remote valves, and we can control 7 remote valves on this lever.
Just on that one lever? On
that one lever.
Right.
So we've got 2 axes of forward and backwards, left and right. And then we've also got a rocker switch on the front. And then everything is doubled up when we use the button on the top. So we get everything with a second function. And then I have got these 2 configurable buttons here, and that gives us our 7th one. So we could control 7 remote valves just from this one lever. Then the multi-function handle. So these 4 buttons here, they're dedicated to a remote valve, and we can select which one we want it to control. The other configurable buttons we've got are the remote fender switches, so which remote valve we're going to be controlling from there. So at the moment, it's going to control number 3. I want it to control number 1, so when we're outside, I can lift and lower the implement from the rear of the machine. So that is the configurability, the configurable buttons. They are assigned to each implement or user as well. So we can assign them to the implement. So if we bring the same implement back, we can bring the same layout as we had before.
Right, so you can make profiles per implement or per user.
So yeah, we can see within here, within the settings, I have got a save configuration, and that is my save configuration for the Optum 300 CVX with the Bednar. Next time I bring it on, bring that configuration back, and we get header management back, we get the remote valves set up as we had them before, we get all the configurable controls back as well. If we want to move or adjust our remote valves, for example, there's multiple ways of doing the same thing. So I've got this handy one, shortcut straight into remote valves.
Right.
I've got my hotkey. So this is again a shortcut button. I can press this, and I've got a shortcut to many things on the remote valves.
The key functions, you
the
can
key
go straight
functions
to it.
Straight in there. So again, you keep stumbling across getting to the same end result. But for operators which still like the buttons, we still cater for them. So I can select which remote valve I want to be controlling here, or adjusting, sorry, and then I've got this dial here. You can see I can adjust the extend, retract, flow percentages there. Likewise with the hitch, I've still got physical buttons to adjust these things as well as in the screen. Hitch controls, we've got the potentiometers here. Lower one controlling the rear height, the top one controlling the front hitch height. So quite nice buttons we can use there. But likewise, I have got controls within here as well as controls
so again,
underneath there.
Multiple ways of getting to the same thing. So as you've kind of sort of demonstrated quite a bit already, just by going through some of the other features and functions, just talk us through some of the screen logic and, well, the new screen as well.
So this is the Pro 1200 screen, a 12-inch screen. It's an Android-based screen, and we've stuck with our run screen. So you'll remember from our old screen, we had 6 run screens, which we can configure to show all key information. We've now got seven run screens, one better. And we can swap and change between these. I can also use the rotary encoder to change between these screens. But when I say Android, you'll be used to these gestures, grab, drop, whatever. The GPS we can set up with dual screens. I think on this one here, you'll see I've got a smaller screen here, where it's a tractor, here's a tractor, and I've got controls that I can put down the side. So we can split the screen up to show more bits of information. But when I come into this is like our home screen, our toolbox if you want. So I've got all tractor functions within here, implement setup, and then this screen does the integration between the implement and the tractor, and then your guidance and things like that. So if we want to be making any settings changes, we can either use the buttons, or we can come into the tractor section and use this menu down the side to get into it. So like for example, transmission now, I know I'm jumping a little bit around here, but we can adjust the transmission sensitivity, low, medium and high, corresponding to the button here. But what we never used to have on the older machines is a custom mode. So when we had it in high before, it used to be rapid acceleration, rapid deacceleration, sensitivity was quick.
Yeah.
Whereas some applications, say, a good example would be on a loader, you want to be aggressive going forward, but when you're going to reverse, you want it to be less aggressive. So in the custom mode, I could have real aggressive acceleration, but deacceleration low.
Right.
So all down to preference, things like that. If we just look at the GPS here, before on the run screens, we used to have to set them up. Now we've got this bar down the side, so we have all key information available to us all the time. So AB lines, boundaries, remarking, all that stuff is always with us when we're on our home GPS screen. As you can see, I've been using the AccuTurn Pro, which has allowed me to sit here talking to you.
Yeah.
Trying to remember to press one button at the end, but we haven't hit anything yet.
No, apart from a badger hole.
Yeah, so with the AccuTurn, what you'll see is I'll come in here, I've mapped out this field. I can do this on the app, or I can do it just driving around the field, which I've done here. And then I have put a false headland in there, so my turning headland. I've set that at 24 metres out, I can reduce it.
So that's like your trigger point.
That is my trigger point. So as I cross that, it's counting down to the operation. So I've built a sequence of events that I want to happen, so controlling forward speed, controlling the implement, and also the turning. So I could skip each other bout, or I could just turn back on myself. I can configure that to do whatever I want.
So Ed, it's all good having this level of technology, but what happens if I ain't got a clue how you actually use it? And many people will be in this same situation as well.
So what we've done now is we've got this question mark up the top there, and what we can do is we can put we can put all the operator's manuals into the screen. And what's quite nice is I've got this quick reference card here, and I can go through. So we've got everything on there to quickly walk you through it. Likewise, if you wanted to go into the full operator's manual, you could search for, so for example, you wanted to know what your power beyond ports on the back were doing. You could search in there, power beyond, and we could bring up key information.
Cool, then Ed, show us your key fob.
So yeah, here we have the new key fobs. So on the door itself, there are some sensors. So as long as I've got this on me, as I walk up to the door, it will unlock. Obviously we've got a manual unlock and lock as well. Then as long as I've got it in here with me, I've got a start-stop button. So gone are the days of putting the key in the ignition. We've got the start-stop to start the tractor, similar to automotive industry. But what is quite unique is the ability to assign new immobilizers. So as you can see, I can add fobs, so we can buy another fob and we can add them to the screen. So there's no programming by the dealer, we can just add a fob, and we can have multiple vehicles on one fob. So we've got a fleet of 7 Optums, be nice, wouldn't it? And then you can give each operator one fob and they'll be able to drive all of the machines.
Or limit the operator to one tractor or
That's
whatever.
right, yeah, you don't want everyone going and messing all your controls up. We can limit it to one operator per tractor.
So Ed, thank you very much for that. That has been absolutely spot on with the changes, particularly in the cab, which like I say, the most visual changes. Still to come, we'll have a quick walk around on the outside. I think we're going to do that with Ross, and then we're going to get stuck into a little bit more of the connectivity. So all that to come. But for now, Ed, thank you very much.